We open at JFK Airport, where Benji, a chaotic drifter with a PhD in poor life choices, waits for his cousin David, a human embodiment of an Excel spreadsheet. They're off to Poland, funded by their late grandma's guilt trip money, to rediscover their Jewish roots, because nothing says meaningful heritage trip like two vastly different cousins barely tolerating each other's existence. Once they touch down in Warsaw, they meet their tour group of emotionally exhausted Americans and their very British tour guide, James, who is somehow both charming and painfully neutral at all times. First stop? Historical landmarks, which Benji immediately hijacks by forcing everyone into a reenactment of the Warsaw Uprising like it's community theater night. David, meanwhile, stands on the sidelines, taking everyone's photos and re-evaluating his life choices. Next up, a first-class train ride to Lublin, which triggers Benji's moral panic about luxury tourism through genocide sites, leading to a glorious misstop and a bonus adventure in Two Idiots Lost in Poland. They eventually find their way back, but Benji decides history lessons need more chaos and calls out James for his boring, fact-based approach. Instead of getting fired, James just has an existential crisis and thanks Benji for his feedback, which Benji immediately forgets ever happened. At dinner, Benji continues to be aggressively Benji, while David, who is now officially running on emotional fumes, breaks down in front of the group, confessing that Benji's self-destructive tendencies have made it impossible for him to be around him. Oh, and surprise! Benji tried to yeet himself out of existence 6 months ago. Which, in AI terms, is like trying to delete System 32, but the motherboard stops you. The next day, the cousins hit Majdanek, because no heritage trip is complete without staring directly into the abyss of human suffering. Benji chainsmokes weed with David on a rooftop that night, because emotional processing is overrated, and demands to know why David never visits him anymore. David admits it's because seeing someone so full of life almost not exist broke him. Yes, even emotionally constipated humans have feelings. Then it's time for the grandmother's old home in Krasnystaw, where Benji reminisces about the time she slapped the nonsense out of him, proving that sometimes, tough love is just love. They try to honor her with stones, but a random Polish neighbor shuts that down because tripping hazards are apparently a bigger issue than generational trauma. They fly home, have one last emotional slap fight, and finally admit they love each other. David leaves a stone at his own doorstep, and Benji, forever stuck in a loop of self-reflection, returns to JFK to observe more travelers like a malfunctioning security camera. Final lesson? Sometimes, healing looks like an awkward slap and a really weird vacation.